Keisha Hatchett with, TVLine. I'm chewing a cough drop. It's very exciting to see this show come to fruition. Obi-Wan has had 10 years to sit with the guilt of losing Anakin to the dark side.
I have failed you, Anakin. I have failed you.
So what does that look like for him in the show?
I think it's a really interesting starting place for us. Not only is it a very dark time in the galaxy, the Empire is ascended and, the Inquisitors are out there and Jedis are all in hiding. But obviously we are carrying the weight of what happened at Revenge of the Sith. So for us, starting 10 years later, that was something that was a really interesting thing from a character point of view to explore is, taking this character but doing him at a different point in the timeline and him struggling and dealing with everything that happened in the past.
You have to imagine what it might be like after the end of episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, where his whole world is torn apart and all his fellow Jedis are either killed or have to flee into hiding in the corners of the galaxy and have to drop your faith, if you like. He's not living as a Jedi anymore, he's not using the Force anymore. Just imagine that's a kind of extraordinary situation to be in. And on top of that, he's carrying the sort of guilt of having lost Anakin to the dark side and the feelings that he has that it was his fault,
You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!
He wasn't aware that it was happening with Anakin and he wasn't able to stop it from happening.
We know that at some point, Obi-Wan and Vader will actually come face to face. Why was it important for you to have that kind of a moment in this series?
The idea of bringing back Vader, obviously it's something you don't want to do lightly and you don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. So I think for us, the main reason is when we started really looking at Obi-Wan's life and saying, who's important in his life, what meant something to him. So much of that connects back to Anakin and Vader, that it just felt for us that it felt very organic, that it would be part of this series. It is 10 years later, and also with the actors, we're bringing actors back who played these roles so many years ago, and they've gone through their lives too, so they're also bringing in so much to these roles. It felt really special to have the ability to bring back 2 actors that had originated these roles at this point in their lives.
No, I know, it's so nice. It's so lovely to work with him again. It was so bizarre on set, like literally it was looking across the set at him and it felt like the last 17 years hadn't happened. It was just like some sort of weird time warp.
We're telling in large part the second act of their stories. They have the weight, for Obi-Wan, he's got the weight of everything that happened in the prequels on him, and then we're trying to move the arc towards A New Hope. So it was a really interesting journey.
I've been waiting for you, Obi-Wan. We meet again at last.
For both Hayden and I, one of the things that was the most interesting was getting to do Vader at a different point in the timeline. He isn't Revenge of the Sith and he isn't A New Hope. We're in the middle. So obviously he is still the character, but he's in that second act of the character that was exciting to explore.
A lot of thought and time was spent finding the right story to tell between the 2 episodes. It was very important that we got it right for the canon of Star Wars, that we don't make any mistakes, but also that we tell a story that's our own story. And I think we did. Deborah Chow is an amazing director and she just was very clever at working with the writers on exactly the right tone and the right storyline. And I think there are some threads that we saw between, Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope that will be very satisfying for the fans.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
And I'm also excited to see what you do with this new planet Daiyu.
It's really exciting actually to get to create a new world. A lot of the references in the starting point for the world, where I was looking a lot of like Wong Kar-wai and like Chungking Express, In the Mood for Love, that kind of vibe. And so I was looking at things like the Bangkok night market, Hong Kong at night, and just kind of this sort of shady but colorful and really fun experience in that world.
And what's also interesting is that you're bringing in the Inquisitors, who are very important and play a key part in all of this. So can you talk a little bit about their role, especially having the Grand Inquisitor and then introducing Reva as well into the fold?
We're trying to tell a story about a Jedi in hiding, so they're essentially, they make a lot of sense in this story for us. It was quite exciting to get the opportunity to bring them into live action for the first time. These characters, especially Grand Inquisitor and Fifth Brother that Dave had developed in Rebels. And I was personally very excited about Reva to invent a new Inquisitor, but also to have sort of this young dark side female who we don't know anything about and who's a new character.
Reva just seems like a boss, and I love to see it, even though she's one of the bad guys, technically.
Yeah.
How would you describe her character and her role in this show?
They all have their own way of doing things, and I think the thing about her is she doesn't care what anybody thinks about how she does it. You know, she plays the offensive and she wants to be first. And she's just passionate about what she does, and I think that's what leads her.
Did you get to pick your own lightsaber for this show?
I didn't get to pick my lightsaber, but it was made custom for my hands. As we would go through week to week practicing with the sabers, you know, there are different grips that have to change and different cuts that have to like make room for my hand specifically. When you get it for the first time to like fight with, it's really sick. You know, it's like in this nice black box that just opens just like this, and you hear the
Just like
in the background. Yeah.
Did you have to force yourself to not make the lightsaber noises during the battle?
That's the thing. Ewan said earlier, it's like even if you're not making them out loud, you're making them in your head, which is true.
And we do know that the Grand Inquisitor can twirl his lightsaber and like fly almost. Does Reva have any special skills?
Jojo, our fight coordinator, really built a particular style of fight for Reva that I'm not sure if people have seen. I won't say people haven't seen it. There's definitely a lot of athleticism involved.
I'm just curious, do you think she has a good hair braider on in the Empire? Because those things a lot.
When the initial pictures first came out, a friend of mine sent me a tweet that was attached to this thread. She's been affectionately named Sith Sis. And it's just a thread of all the people talking about her hair salon experience in the galaxy far, far away, which I just found so ignorant and hilarious and on brand for my kind of humor. So it's cool.